Welcome to Creating Harmony, the podcast. I'm your host, Cecilia Berkley, and I'm here to guide you through the art of embracing every moment, both the joyful and the difficult. Today's episode is all about creating harmony by learning to honor the sad times in our lives. We often strive for constant happiness, yet there's a quiet beauty in the heaviness of life. Those tender moments, we feel the most vulnerable. It is in these times that we truly learn to understand ourselves, to heal, and to grow. Today, we are going to delve into the idea of holding space for our sadness and letting it coexist with our joy, discovering how it can become an integral part of our personal harmony. So grab a cup of tea, find a quiet place, and let's journey together through the softness of these moments and learn to embrace the fullness of our human experience. Welcome to Creating Harmony, the podcast. I am your host, Cecilia Berkley, and I'm here to guide you through the art, embracing the art of joyful and difficult moments. In this episode, we are going to talk about embracing the sad times in our lives. I want to welcome back our guest, Katya. And if you have not watched our first show with her, please, I invite you to click on the link. You do not want to miss her first part. So this is our second part of the show with Katya. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Your story is so inspirational. So inspiring to me because your journey has not been easy.
Yeah.
You've been in the dark for many years, but you refuse to let go and of who you were meant to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So tell us where we left in our first show.
So I was talking about my son, who's 7 now. So with my son Robbie, so I had noticed that he was just starting to act a little bit different. You know, every time that I would take him over to my mom's house, would come home, and he was just not acting like his normal self. He seemed like he was a little bit more kind of afraid. He would have bad dreams all the time and would just come in the bed with me and sleep with me and was telling me that bad guys coming to get me. And I was trying to look into more of, what was going on. I asked him, did somebody hurt you maybe at school? Because, he was already starting kindergarten there at school and everything. So I said, did someone touch you inappropriately? And that's when I felt like something was off at that point. When I asked him, he had a hard time speaking to tell me what was going on. I noticed, I would give him a shower and I was washing him and he said, "Mama, don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me." And I was like, "It's okay. Mama is just washing you. I'm not touching you inappropriately." And I said, did something happen? Did somebody hurt you at school or anywhere else? And then at that point, I just had this gut feeling that something was going on, at my mom's house, that, my mom, is married to my stepdad, Fred. They've been together for over 20 years. I know with Fred, there was a history of in the past where he was, caught watching child pornography, right?
You knew that.
Yep, I knew that about him exactly.
And your mother?
And my mother knew about that as well, that he was watching child pornography. And so I had suspected, if anything, it was probably something maybe that happened in the family. So right away, I even showed a picture. I was like, did Fred, by any chance, did he touch you? Did he hurt you in any way? And he right away said that he did, that he touched his wiener. And he said that, he knew specifics. Like, he's like, when we were at Baba's house, my mom's house, and my mom and I were looking at clothes in the closet, we did that often. My mom would go to garage sales and she would show me what she got and would ask me, hey, do you want a couple things? And I left him in the living room with Fred. And so he knew specifics where I was at that time, where it happened, when he touched him. And you could just tell he was just afraid. He didn't know what was going on. I told him that I'm gonna take care of this, that I will figure this out, and not to worry, right? That I'm your voice, that, justice will be made.
Katya, this is devastating.
Yes.
This is has always been my biggest fear
Yeah.
to happen with my boys.
Yes.
Because it happened to me, and it always happens with a relative, right? It has to be
Yes.
somebody around.
Yeah.
And you had that intuition when something was off with your son.
Yeah.
You had an idea
Yeah.
who could be.
Yeah, it's like I felt it deep in my core. I was like, that this person hurt my son. It's like I felt it. It was just this feeling, it's like over me that came, and it was certain. And many times over and over, when I found about the child pornography, that my mom called and said she caught him watching it, I knew something was wrong right there.
There's so many emotions because you're like, so much things have happened in your whole life.
Yeah.
And it comes into a point that we think, but why? Why am I still suffering? What is going on with my life? Why so many things are happening?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to learn from all of it?
Exactly.
And this is probably one of the worst things.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing we suffer, we go through it, but having our kids to go through something like that is worse.
Yes.
Do you felt like it wasn't real? How do you felt with that?
I felt just so much anger and hurt, that someone in the family could do this, that anyone could do this to a child, especially someone doing this to my child, right? No child deserves this, but when you're going in it with your own child, it's just like, how could somebody hurt him? How dare they?
How can we inform, wake up, maybe moms or fathers that, how can they pay attention to this? Sometimes these people that are so, I don't know, they find their way to hurt little ones.
Yeah.
But what can we as parents be more aware to see, or to ask our little ones?
Yeah.
Did somebody hurt you? What are some of the things that he was showing that indicates that he was being molested, Katya?
I noticed that he wasn't sleeping at night. He was crying at night, and it was just like somebody's getting him, hurting him, It was just cry for help. Like, the bad guy's coming to get me, Mama. And he was just afraid, and it made me so sad. Like, I couldn't do something to fix it, to hurt and fix the pain.
It's gone already.
Yeah, so it was heartbreaking, and I knew right then that I needed to do something and take action, right? And I knew I was going to lose everyone in my family. And that was the hardest thing, is because my mom and my brother and sister, we were all so close relationship, and my brother and sister don't have any kids. So they just decided to take my mom's side and kind of look the other way, and was like, we don't believe you. This couldn't have happened.
Things, you're just making it up.
Exactly. This couldn't have happened in our family. He's too young to be able to speak and tell the truth, and kids lie all the time, and whatever they could possibly, think of to say, it's like they didn't want to believe me.
And how old was he? 7?
He's 7
when
now.
you find out.
He was 5 when I found out.
5.
Yeah.
And we do not know how far was that happening.
Exactly.
He may not remember.
Exactly. It could have happened several times. Yeah.
And normally that happens.
Yeah.
Oh, so no one in your family believed you.
Nobody.
They thought that you were delusional.
Yeah.
Making things up.
Exactly.
And it probably questioned you at times that maybe, am I overthinking this? Did you ever thought that?
Yeah.
Am I overreacting? Maybe it didn't happen.
Yeah.
You
It's,
question
I
yourself?
did question myself, and I was like, maybe, this didn't happen, but I told myself, no, I'm following my gut, my intuition. It's telling me something's wrong. I feel it in my core, and I was like, I can't ignore it. I feel this deep in my core that this man did something. And you know what? As a little girl, I had never had a voice. I never had a voice. And, I knew that if anything ever happened like this to me, my mother or father would never protect me. They would look the other way. And I said, I'm not going to be that way. I'm going to do something and be my son's voice and stand up for him. And I did. I filed charges. And after that, I lost my brother and sister and my mom, to not have a relationship with them.
That is the hardest thing, right? To
It was
know that you're
very
going
hard
to
that you have
separate.
to separate that the people you thought, were going to be there for you forever, your family, don't support you in the times that you need the most.
But look at your strength.
Yeah.
Look at the power that you carry in.
Yeah.
That you gave your son the voice that he deserved.
Yes.
At your growth
Yeah.
of saying, I'm going to speak up. And the fear to lose, right? To lose the people that is my family.
Yes.
Who I love. Oh, my mother.
Yeah.
My sister. And you still did it.
Yeah.
Afraid, scared. You
Yeah.
did it anyways. You felt lonely doing this.
Oh, I felt so lonely for so long. I was questioning myself, did I do the right thing? But at the end, I knew that I did the right thing, because I know one day that he's going to grow up and he's going to say, Mama, thank you for believing in me. Thank you for being there for me. And I knew, I put myself in my son's shoes for a moment, and I said, if this happened to me, and if my mom and dad didn't do something about it, I couldn't live with myself. I would just have so much pain and anger growing up. And I said, I don't want that for my son. I want him to know I was always by his side.
Absolutely.
Loving and protecting him.
You did the right thing.
Thank you.
Amazing. This is who you are polishing to be the best version of you. You're working so hard on yourself, Katya.
Yes.
And I just hope that women that are watching this show to learn from you. My heart.
Yeah.
My heart, it feels all of it. And it feels pieces broken in here, because I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And no one deserves to go through that.
Yeah.
No one. So painful. So
Yes.
painful for me
Yeah.
to even being here talking about it. And I just want more people to wake up, pay attention. Don't just be selfish and thinking of yourself and what you're thinking. Sometimes we think about, oh, it's so hot today, or oh, the stores were packed with people, and we get caught up in our own little world and our own little stories, and there's bigger stories around us that we need to pay attention.
Yes.
Start with your kids.
Yeah.
Start listening to the whispers that are around us.
Yeah, because it's easy to get caught up, and
It is.
we don't pay attention, and we don't know what's happening to our kids.
We get so
what's
busy
going on. Yeah.
that we don't pay attention to the things that matter most.
Yeah.
And again, this is why we are here, and we will continue to talk about creating the harmony that we all need at the end of the day. That's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
Learn to be happy, be joyful,
Yes.
be grateful. And here you are. So how is that going with your family? Did that happen not too long ago,
Yeah.
really?
It's definitely been like, we're close to like right at that 2 years right now. I feel like my mom and I started to talk a little bit here and there, and we decided to, I wanted to have some kind of relationship with her.
You made that decision? Yeah?
Yep, I made the decision. She reached out to me, and I was like, okay, I have boundaries up in place, right? So if we're going to have a relationship, I don't want to talk about, we're not going to go in the past and talk about what happened, right? Because what's happened, it's a done deal, right? But we can still have a relationship and move forward, right? I told her, I'm not going to forgive that person, right? Or apologize to them in any way
Katya,
for what
wow.
they've done.
I have to say, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is your mother still with her husband?
She is still with that husband, yes.
with the child molester.
Yes. She had decided to stick by his side, which has, it's made me very upset and angry, all of that, all this emotions. But I said, you know what? I want to have a relationship with her still if we can, but on certain conditions, right? Where, obviously my son doesn't see the stepfather at all, and doesn't come around, and where we're able to kind of, just start fresh, right? To have a relationship, but with boundaries in place, right? Where she's respecting
I
those
must say, I
boundaries.
admire you because that is an example of unconditional love.
Yeah,
But it's sad,
Yeah.
but it has nothing to do with you because
Yeah.
you cannot force her to change.
yeah,
You cannot tell your mother you need to and you better
yeah,
divorce this man
yes,
because you and her will never get to any place of peace.
mm-hmm.
So what I see is that you are working so much on you again, creating your inner peace.
Yes,
And it starts by, she's your mother. She's a big piece and she will always be a big piece of who you are.
mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah,
So again, I'm here speaking on my very own personal opinion.
yeah,
And maybe not a lot of people will agree with this, but it's okay. I admire that. And if you have to do that for you to create that inner peace that you need for you and your family and your son, you do so. But you're absolutely correct. You do not need to get involved with this person or ever see him or hang out with him
yeah,
because he is not part of, your mother's is your mother.
yeah,
She will always be your mother.
yes,
That's her life, that she is choosing to continue to live that life of sadness and unhappiness.
yes.
And you do not want that. So just breaking that pattern, it speaks values of you, so huge of you.
Yeah, thank you.
So trying to work with that, right? Trying to work with, this person is around.
Mm-hmm.
The boundaries are what's going to save you and your son
Yes,
to make sure that he's not near him or you.
yes.
And how is your son doing? How is he? Is he going to therapy? How are you coping with that? What are you doing about that?
We didn't put him in therapy or anything like that. I was thinking about it and I just wasn't sure if that would make things better or not. And at that time, I know that, my husband he had a hard time believing what happened with Robbie. And so we were kind of butting heads there for a while where
That's a denial.
yeah, exactly. The denial where I felt like I was, on my own and I didn't have anyone on my side to support me. And that's really hard when you have that. And, despite all the odds, but I said, I'm going to still do whatever I have to for my son, despite having the support. He's come around and he actually understands. Like, I think he believes that it did happen and he's more open. I feel like he's more emotionally available and kind of open to, talking about it and just different things. But
Do you
it's
think
taken
it's
time.
also maybe as a man having a shame or embarrassed to expose his personal life to someone else, like a therapy or
Yeah.
going to a therapist, right?
Yeah.
And not wanting to talk about it.
Yes.
So he's thinking of, nope, this is personal, this is private, it's gonna stay home.
Yeah.
I know what that is.
Yeah.
So if you would have had all your support system, you did not have that.
Exactly.
You had to be your own
Yeah.
support system. So you did everything you could by being by yourself.
Yep. I had to be in my masculine side
Yes,
the whole
yes.
time. It was
oh,
hard.
Yes, it was hard, but you did
Yeah.
that for the love that you have for the little boy.
Yes.
I know if you probably had the support of your husband, he will be in therapy right now. But that's going to happen. We are hopeful that he will see things a little different.
Yes.
And the sooner, the better.
Yes.
Because the little boy is going to grow to be a teenager, young man, an adult.
Yeah.
And that can definitely affect.
Yes.
It comes in a life that you remember things,
Yeah.
Wow. So how is that going with now you and your husband? And
Mm-hmm.
Because there's more. I want you to tell me about
Yeah,
what's
more
coming.
about that.
Yes.
So I feel like, that was kind of a big turning point, right? When that happened a couple years ago with Robbie, I felt, I was a wreck when that happened. And I, just was lost. I was going through a period where I was in my masculine side and I needed to be there for my son. And I realized that, my husband was not being supportive. And I said, if you can't be supportive for something that's big like this, I don't think that this is going to work. I pulled away and I said, look, we haven't been working. This relationship hasn't been working. I feel like we don't see eye to eye on many things. And I said, we need to get a divorce, So I pushed us to get a divorce because I just felt like, I was like, okay, I wanted to be on my own. That's what I was like. For the first time, I was like, I need to be on my own in my life. I've never been alone ever,
Well, you felt you didn't have the support that
And I
you
didn't
needed
have the
because
support.
that was a
Yes.
huge thing.
Yeah.
And if your husband doesn't believe
Doesn't
him
support
or
you.
you,
Like,
I'm
how can you go on? Exactly.
you
For
felt
me,
alone.
I felt betrayed. I said, for something huge like this and that's happening in my life, if you are not going to be supporting me and my son, your son, then this is just not going to work. And I just felt so hurt, so broken. And so, I pushed for us to get the divorce. And, as we were going through the divorce, it was taking a while. It was kind of, he didn't want to cooperate there for a while. But during that time, I told God, look, I'm going to probably take some time for myself. I'm not going to look for anybody because I felt like I was always looking for the next, man to be with that's going to fill my heart with love, to show me love. But this time I said, no, I've learned how to love myself, right? Respect myself. I have boundaries in place, right? Because I put them up. And I told God basically, look, these are my boundaries. I want a man to, no verbal abuse, right? No physical abuse, no lying, cheating, right? I want to have, a great relationship with someone, good chemistry, all of that, right? Good sex, everything. And so as I put those boundaries up, right, shortly after, God's like, okay, I'm going to test you. Let's see if you are going to really hold
Okay.
what you learned. Yeah, let's see. You've got these boundaries. Okay, test time. So I would take my son to like indoor jungle gyms a lot, especially in the summertime. So I went to an indoor jungle gym one day and I met a man there and his two kids. And, having only son, right, he's always looking for people to play with, other kids.
Sure.
So he started playing with these other kids and they kind of hit it off right away. Here I am going through a divorce and I didn't think anything of it. This man, he's like, hey, do you know of any indoor jungle gyms? I'm kind of new to the area. I wanted to take my kids to some other ones. And I gave him some suggestions, I was like, yep, there's a couple places here, in Chandler and Gilbert. And he seemed like nice, I didn't think anything of it. I could tell he was younger than me. But I didn't think of anything. I was like, he's like,
You were trying to be friendly?
I was trying to be friendly. Exactly. So we exchanged, Instagrams and was like, okay, let's maybe do a play date with the kids one time. So it started with doing play dates with the kids and kind of just talking from there. Then, it's like later it turned into, okay, do you want to go and grab like some dinner together? So we would grab dinner. And I remember this man would just sit there and he would listen to me really closely, pay close attention in the beginning, really listening to my story. And I'm one of those people, I like to really, open up and share what I've been through and sometimes maybe overshare, right? Which can get you into trouble
With the wrong.
with the wrong people. So definitely that was the case with this one, but in the beginning he was, as I had thought, like, oh my God, God sent me, like I wasn't looking for anyone, but God sent me this man and he seems like he's really nice. But let me just see where maybe this goes. Maybe this will just be a friendship. I don't know. I was open to having any friendships because I was so alone, vulnerable with everything going on, with going through a divorce and my son. So I was open to having any conversation with somebody that was willing to listen. Yes. He was, like I always say, he came to me disguised as an angel, and then slowly started to take off the mask.
Wow.
And as the mask came off, became somebody just
Monster?
the worst, narcissist I've ever met in my life.
Oh, wow.
The worst of the worst. If I thought that my first husband was bad, this man was, he was, manipulating me in every conversation that we had. It's later down after we ended, after we broke up, after the 8 months that we were together, I realized every conversation was a lie. He was trying to play me, scheme me somehow. He took money from me.
And Katya, when we find ourselves in very vulnerable moments in the dark, we are in the sad times at the moment, and our intuition is not there.
Yeah.
Because we are in our pain.
Yeah.
And that's stronger than anything that we can feel. You cannot tune in. Your little inner antennas are down. They're not up.
Yeah.
So you saw this person and you thought the world of him. Because again, what you needed was love, and he was providing at the moment.
Yeah.
That
Some love,
paying attention to your story.
Yeah. Paying attention to my story.
He wanted to know where you were in your emotions. To see how probably take advantage of you.
Exactly.
So we definitely need to do some soul searching so that we don't let people do that. And it's where you are now, but this relationship turned into something really bad, right?
Yeah.
I want you to pour your heart, because this just happened not too long ago.
Yeah.
It's not even a year yet.
Yeah. So with Carlos, right? So I had met him.
Oh, but we're gonna call him Carlos because we don't want to say anybody's name, right? So it's Carlos.
Yep, it's Carlos, exactly, that we'll use for him. And so I had met him at a Memorial Day, right? At that jungle gym. And so from there we started hanging out, right? Doing things with the kids. And then once in a while we would go to like movies, we would go to Sedona, dinners and things like that. And it's like I would always open up and share my story with him, and he listened closely, and he wouldn't share much about himself, kind of kept himself secretive and very quiet, right?
Observing you.
Observing me, exactly. And it's like, it felt like, it's like it started moving quickly with him. I feel like it's like as if he was, doing his love bombing, as they call it now. I realize.
Can you tell now that he was just getting to know more of you? Is that what it is? Meaning not for the right reasons?
Not for the right reasons, exactly. I felt like the intentions were different. It was kind of, he knew that I was still living with my ex-husband, that we were going through the divorce, right? So everything kind of started moving quickly. He's like, okay, you're going to move out and get your own place, and I said, yes, I am. Within a couple months, I moved out and got my own apartment, right? And everything.
And at this moment, you didn't know much about him.
Exactly. At this much, I didn't know too much about him. I did learn, within like the couple of months, though, with my ex-husband, he decided to go through my phone because he noticed something was like different, where I was kind of going out a little bit more, on the weekends. And I was saying I was going with friends because I just didn't quite know where this was going to go to.
You were still living with your husband.
Yep, exactly. Right? Even though we were already like filed for divorce and separation for
but
like
living
a
in the
year.
same house, sharing the same.
But still sharing the same household. And so I just wasn't sure like where this was going to go, and so I didn't really say anything too much. I said I was going out with friends when I was going out with Carlos. So he went through my phone randomly and kind of found him, and then decided to look up his name, in the public records, and saw that he had, like 32 cases out there of, all kinds of, where he was, hitting other women, right? And other, breaking entry and things like that. Just
Problems with the law.
Exactly. Lots of problems with the law, as you say, But the domestic violence, I was like, okay, this, I don't like this. But I remember, you know, when I met him the first day, like when we went on a date, he was telling me, look, I want you to know I haven't been always perfect. I did get in trouble with the law, and I have, you know, I did like hit a woman that I was with, you know, so he kind of admitted that to
But
me.
why do you think that is? Because you could have looked at his name and looked things there like your
yeah.
husband did.
And I think he wanted to kind of be a little vulnerable, but not share too much. So he kind of told me that, but he was trying to tell me he was changing and he was trying to be a better man, that he had a past that wasn't so great. He learned, obviously,
And you
from my
believe
past.
him. You believe him.
Exactly. I believed him because I was like, okay, I don't have a great past. Okay, he's not perfect, but I was like, that's okay. You know, I always try to look for the good in people, to see the good. And I said, you know, maybe he's trying to really work on himself and change his life for the better. I said, I'm gonna give this a try. So I knew, I saw the flags, right, pretty early on, but I refused to kind of listen to any advice from friends and things like that, and was stubborn in my own ways. It was kind of like, I was like, this man's giving me attention. I haven't had that for so long. He's listening to me.
That's all you
It's
care,
like
right? That's all you
I
wanted.
needed someone to be able to talk to, and I felt like, okay, maybe this can work, right? But I was hesitant still. It was like I had my guard up. He was also, you know, only 32 years old, right? I'm 41 years old, right? So it was an age gap, and I was like, this is too young, I said. I've never been with anyone so young like that. So I just didn't know, but I was like, I'm gonna go with it, and if it's meant to be, it will be. So
You were just following at the moment whatever you were feeling. You were really not meditating on nothing. I think you just wanted it. You
Yep.
just wanted it.
Yep, I wanted it something new, exciting. The sex was great, so
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
just-
okay.
yeah.
I was like, let's see, you know, where this can go. So I kind of had an open heart, and I did. It was almost kind of like I wanted to help him be a better person, right? I saw that he could be cold, and I saw that he could be nice at moments, and I thought maybe I could help him. Maybe I can make him a better man. I don't know. It's the want. It's the want me. It's I have this wanting to help others and
You
fix
do,
them
because you
sometimes.
have, again, a great heart.
Yeah.
But what you fall short is to give that to you.
Yes.
You're better than you were,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
But you still are learning to do
Yes.
more of giving yourself that.
Yes.
We're not done here, but I do want to emphasize that I bring women here to tell their stories, and not because, again, you are going to be perfect, but because you're still going through it.
Yeah.
And just being here and sharing that is like, again, I admire you for that.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the story, because you thought this man
Yeah.
was there for you for the right reasons. He was listening to you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you had great sex.
Yeah.
And I know we emphasized of that before, because you and I talk a little bit about that part.
Yeah.
And let's go back to, you didn't have that as much before. I think you were lacking that with your husband.
Yes.
And that's another thing that you were enjoying with this man that was providing that for you.
Yes.
Make you feel connected with him.
Yeah. Exactly.
Even though you saw red flags.
Exactly.
And it got worse, Katya.
Yeah.
What else happened with this man?
So it would slowly, like, I feel like after a couple months of us being together, right, he told me one day, he's like, oh, I love you so much. Like, it was just, and it didn't feel real. It kind of just came out of nowhere. And then 2 seconds later, he asks me, can I borrow some money?
Oh.
And I was like, okay, like, this doesn't feel right.
But you didn't listen to it, right?
Yep. I was like, you know, I actually questioned him. I was like, did you really just say that to me? And then you say you love me? Like, you know, you love me, and then a couple minutes later here you ask me for money. I was like, I was like, no, this doesn't feel normal.
Another red sign, right?
I saw the sign, it
Yes.
wasn't right, and he kind of brushed it off. He's like, no, of course I do, and I'm gonna pay you in like 2 days, and I like trusted in him. It's like, new love, and you're like, okay, how can you not? If you're able to, how can you not, help somebody? And so I did. But it came the next couple days, then he wasn't giving me the money, then it was going weeks and so forth. And, I would call him out on it. And I was like, that's not right. I was like, I feel like you're taking advantage. And he would just always come
You
up
enable
with a
it.
story
Yeah.
exactly why he doesn't have it or what's going on. And slowly it's like the mask just started to come off, right? Where all of a sudden we were having sex and he smacked me in the face, And I was like, excuse me? Like, why would you do that? I had a conversation with that. He's like, I just wanted to see your reaction. And I said, I don't like that. I was like, I told you, no physical like abuse whatsoever. And I'm like, that's physical abuse right there. I'm like, I don't care if it's during sex or not. You do not have the, I did not say you could hit me.
Katya, why do you think you continue to allow repeatedly this abuse, one after another? Now, answer me as the woman that you are right now, yes.
I think like I started to fall in love with him, like with just having, being with him, the sex and everything, right? And just having someone there, that even though he was treating me bad, it was kind of like, well, if I don't have him, then I have to go back to being alone again. And being alone felt worse. It felt worse going backward to being alone and on my own.
But I want you to think and reflect a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's what love is?
No.
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 Why do you think you allowed that abuse? I want you to think about
Yeah.
that one more time.
Most of it, I think it comes from, being with my mom and dad and witnessing, right? My dad would hit my mom, right? He would verbally abuse her all the time. He would hit her, and it was like that was normal. That was normal. And I grew up in that chaotic environment nothing was like peaceful. So with this man, it was chaotic. It was just constantly, every day, I was just like on my tippy toes. What's he gonna do next?
But for you, knowing the story, right? Knowing that your parents had that kind of relationship, right? And for you, that's how love was. That's how they show love. And the mess,
Yeah.
and the insults, and the yelling, and the slapping, or whatever it was, that to you, that's why you learned that that was love.
Yeah.
And when you got this from this man, your adrenaline, you just liked it. It's like a drug,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You went back to what you knew.
Exactly. Yep. It was
And
like,
it triggered you. It
and
triggered you.
it really did. It was like, I would even remember say, I was like, you feel like a drug to me.
Oh.
Like like, and then I caught myself later on and I was like, you are giving up your power to this man by telling him he's like a drug to you. He gives you all this adrenaline, this excitement, this fun, this abuse, right, that you're used to seeing. And it just kept going back for more and more.
Did that feel healthy for you? Because again, we want to wake up
Yeah.
those that I know they're going to relate to you.
Yeah.
I know they're going through it right now as you going through,
Yeah.
right? And how does that, you knowing that as unhealthy for you, it brought a lot of more illness, right?
Yeah.
With your body.
Yes.
But you, again, like a drug, because you knew about it, but you felt like you couldn't break from that.
Yep, exactly. Yep, and so I remember that I just started to get sick like all the time while I was in a relationship with him. I had bronchitis for 5 weeks, I remember. I kept getting bacterial infections one after the other. And like my body was just trying to tell me something's not good. I kept getting like panic attacks. I just felt like nervous all the time.
Wow.
And not at ease. Like I couldn't sleep. It was just, I felt like my adrenaline was like working, overtime.
Your nervous system,
Nervous system was
everything.
working overtime and I couldn't
Yes.
relax. And I was like, what's he going to do next? Is he going to try to strangle me? Or it was just, you never knew what, he did that before where he would strangle me during sex and
Wow. He came from
different things.
someone that listened to you,
Exactly, in
right?
the beginning
He
to
was just
somebody.
observing you to see how much he could take advantage of you,
Yeah.
how much he can abuse you.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it turned into the monster that he really was
Yeah,
from the start.
exactly.
You went to the doctor. Did you check to see what was going on? Did you find anything?
I remember I did go to the doctor, and it was, I remember that they ended up telling me that, like, yeah, you keep getting bacterial infections. I think that, like, this is definitely something going on. This guy is having different, sleeping.
No.
He's sleeping around. This is definitely one of the biggest signs, right? And it was like the close to like an STD kind of a thing with the bacterial infections, that I ended up having to take antibiotics
You
to
confront
cure
him?
it.
I'm sure you confront him. What happened?
Exactly. He would just tell me it's all like in your head,
Oh.
it's you. Like there's nothing wrong with me. I went, I checked, and I was like, no, you are
So
just
it
lying
repeats
all the
father
time.
again, the way father treated mother.
Yeah.
Here he goes. You are crazy.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
nothing. You're just making this up.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And you find yourself in the same circle as I'm not I'm not my mother, but I'm acting like my mother.
Exactly.
It's happening again.
Yeah. Staying with the man like for the wrong reason.
Tell me, what do you find out? What did he said? So much infections. Did you find out the truth? He was sleeping with other women, and who knows, maybe even
Yeah.
men. Who knows?
Yep. Yeah, later on I ended up actually he had I believe it was like about 5 months ago or so, I found out that looking up like his record again, right, that he had that he was on probation for 3 years, that he was put because he was harassing another woman out there. And I realized that he was doing the same thing to her while we were together around that same time. So I knew he was with somebody, and he was harassing. And same thing he did to me. He basically pretended on OfferUp when I was selling things to be a stalker, and said he was going to rape me, hurt me the most, have his friends
Oh, wow,
gang
Katya.
rape me, and just basically
is
like was threatening
horrifying.
my life. Yeah, pretending to be a stalker, and then admitted that it was him, and thought it was funny that like I was scared and that I was gonna like call the police and like say, hey, somebody's stalking me. And so I knew, from there on that something was wrong in his head. This person was crazy, that
Katya, you
like he was
cannot
dangerous.
change someone like that. And I know you have, you and I spoke a little bit, and
Yeah.
you thought that you could change these men.
Yeah, I thought that I could,
No, it's going to drag you into.
exactly, in his
can't.
mess. It was hard because I ended up, loving his kids like my own, right? And doing things with them. And I feel like building that relationship. And I knew they looked up to me. And I
But
could
he
tell
didn't have the kids, right? Did he have? I'm
he would
sure
have
that
them here and there. He
here and
would
there.
use the kids towards his advantage to me, to get to me.
So
He,
do you think,
know.
Katya, that he was using other women
Yeah.
for money,
Yeah, I think so.
sex? It was one of the things. Was he selling that?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility that he
That's
was
when you were
doing that.
getting sick.
So it's
That's
like our bodies, I feel like we have to listen to our bodies, because I was just like, I can't keep going like this.
We have to listen to everything, our intuition.
Yes.
The moment you meet someone, make sure those little inner antennas are up,
Yeah.
right? But you were in vulnerable times.
Yeah. Very
You
vulnerable.
were scared, you were had fear, and what a monster, really.
Yeah.
You
take
you
advantage.
don't, right? No one deserves to be treated this way.
Exactly.
But it's like something else and stronger needed to happen in your life, shaking you up again and say, when are you going to break patterns?
Exactly.
You cannot continue to live this way.
Yeah.
You deserve better.
Yeah.
You are better.
Yes.
And here we go, another experience, one after another, one after another.
Yeah.
And you're like, and now what?
Yeah.
I'm sick. And you felt like you loved him, because what I believe, knowing about this story and about other cases very similar to yours, that again, you're not in love with this monster, but you are in love with the idea of feeling hurt
Yeah.
and love because he's having sex with you the way you like it.
Yeah.
And that makes you feel that he loves you.
Yeah.
So that's definitely unhealthy, right? You recognize that is a very unhealthy feeling.
Yes.
So how long were you with this person? Because I know there's a lot of things that happen with this person. I
Yeah.
created more problems with the ex-wives probably or girlfriends. So
Yeah. So
what happened?
yeah, so it went on for like about 8 months, right? And it was a lot of back and forth where I would, my ex-husband tried to kind of help me, and I was, talking to him as a friend and telling him what was happening. And he knew, he's like, well, this person should not be around our son. This is dangerous, right? This guy has a charge where he's not putting seatbelts on his kids, when he's driving. What are you doing? He's like, you're better than this. You know better. What are you doing? Why are you having this man around our son? And
Yeah, at this moment, you still you were not living with your ex-husband now? You
yep,
were not
yep, I was already in my own
your
apartment.
own apartment, but
Yep.
he was there still kind of like encouraging you,
Encouraging, yep. Being there as a friend, guiding
being there as
me.
a friend. And we are going to talk about that because
Yeah.
he is his own story of his own.
Yeah.
This ex-husband
Yeah.
that is now your friend,
Yes.
right? We will talk about that. So he was looking out for you.
Yeah. He was looking out for me.
And when there was problems with this other Carlos guy,
Yeah.
you will go into your ex-husband and he will comfort you and look to see who he was and
Yeah.
was worried for you,
Yes.
care for you,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
8 months, almost a year
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
What did you experience and learn from this was very unique experience for you, where you actually were into your mom's role?
Yeah.
What happened to her? And think about this, your mother is still there
Yeah.
because she has a husband that is a child molester,
Yeah.
and she's going to probably die there.
Yes.
And you were kind of imitating that. You were going back to being mom.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you
kinda
broke
staying in
now
that.
from that relationship, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you learn from this so that this experience won't happen again?
Again.
What is different now?
So I learned that, with all the boundaries that I put up, right? And I kept letting, Carlos break them over and over, right? And I learned, I was like, okay, if you put boundaries, you actually have to stick to them.
You better stay to
I
it.
was like, you actually have to stick to them. Like, that was the hardest thing, because you would think that if you would tell a person, like, especially, okay, once they broke them, okay, please, respect them, because, like, if you don't, like, this isn't going to work. You would think that they would listen, but that's not how people are. He kept testing me over and over. And he's like, well, I've already broken them, 5, 6 times, and she still is sticking around. So she's not going to ever leave. Okay, I'm going to just keep abusing her and doing whatever I need to and sleep around with other women and then come back to her,
Yeah, we're going to get personal here.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you,
Yeah.
was really the sex that good?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was. And
That's what you were addicted to it.
I was addicted to it. And I think honestly, the other part of it was I wanted to connect on an emotional level with this man. I wanted to have that intimacy.
That's what
And
it
I would
was.
get through to him sometimes here and there, because with my ex-husband, we didn't have that emotional connection. And for me in a relationship, that's important. And I craved that and I wanted that.
He knew
Yeah.
that he knew how to please a woman.
Yes.
You were not the only one, my love.
Yeah.
You were not the only one.
That's true.
He knew how to use that very
Yes.
well. He was
Yes.
an expert,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And he was manipulating you.
Yeah.
He knew that you wanted, you needed, you just craving that part.
Yeah.
And it was so good, as you just said.
Yeah.
And that's how you kept into that relationship. It's like, I'm okay, keep slapping me. Not really saying it, but
Yeah.
he's slapping me, he's calling me, was he calling you names?
Yep. He would call me names.
Right?
Yeah.
Make fun of your body.
Yep.
But you still didn't care because the sex was so good.
Yeah.
And he knew what he was doing, Katya.
Yeah.
He was selling, pretty much getting sex, money in return.
Yeah.
You were not the only one.
Yeah.
So we need to learn to speak and get to know, that's another show, but know what we want so we can talk to our, to our partners.
Yeah, exactly.
So that definitely was, you were trapped into that relationship because of that, how it made you feel.
Yeah.
And every time sex happened, you felt love again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he loves me.
Yeah.
I love the feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So sorry that you had to go through it,
Yeah.
but we have to go through the mud
Yeah.
to find ourselves. And sometimes we don't learn the first time or the second time.
Yeah.
We repeat the same stories until something really shakes you deeply and say, that this is it.
Yeah.
Was this it for you?
Yes.
Did you learn from that
I feel
experience?
like I definitely learned.
Not to go back with a loser?
Yeah, exactly.
So what did you learn? Tell me with your own
Yeah.
voice.
So I feel like definitely I learned that, you can't just trust anybody and open as much as you
No.
want to open your heart to them. You can't,
Cannot.
right? You cannot fully open up and, you need to be able to kind of first weigh it out, right? And
Yes.
see things need to move more slowly in a relation, not
Can you
so
say that again?
quickly.
Things need to move what?
Things need to move more slow, right?
Slow.
Slow in a
Here we go back
relationship.
to the same in everything,
Exactly.
Katya.
Yeah.
We want to move so fast in life in general.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to take a break for nothing.
Yeah.
Okay? Nobody wants to rest. Nobody wants to slow down.
Yeah.
Don't put a pause. You need it, but you're not going to take it.
Yeah.
Because no,
Yeah.
that's not how you will find yourself if you
Exactly.
continue to move into the next one and the next and the next one.
Yeah.
That is definitely something that I know you've learned.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
And this is why we are here.
Yes.
So most definitely. And this person tried to make your life miserable, right? I mean, it was not done after you said, I'm done.
Yeah.
He was not done.
It's as soon as I was like, okay, that's it. I've had enough, right? I said, I can't trust you. You tell me you're going to pay me back. You don't pay me back. And then I told him, you know what? Forget it. Just don't worry about paying me back. I want nothing to do with you. As soon as I said that, that's it. He's like, oh, I'm going to change, and slowly started to pay me some of that money, right? So it was feeding me crumbs of little love here and there, right?
Sure.
He noticed, okay, she has a good job. She has a good income coming in. She's a good mother. She's a good person, right? She's beautiful.
Yes, of course.
Okay, I look really good next to her. Okay.
Yes, the same thing.
Yep, my family really likes her, and she I look good next
You're
to her.
a trophy again,
so I'm
right? For
gonna
any man.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, so he was he just did whatever he could to try to, bring me crumbs of love here and there, and slowly pull me in. And try to convince me, oh, your ex-husband, you guys don't need to be so close and talking all the time, and would just if you're going to go pick up your son, you have 15 minutes and you need to get back and call me right away. It was like restrictions after restrictions, and why aren't you picking up the phone? You should have it at all times. It started to get crazy. He was checking up on me. I noticed you weren't home at this time. I'm watching you. What are you doing? Where are you?
A crazy man, and all just because, like you say, little crumbs, just little pieces.
Yeah, I feel like he got off on making things, miserable for him.
Yes,
He
but-
wanted me to fight with the ex-husband
Correct.
and wanted me to be just in constant fighting mode.
And you kind of crave that though, because it was like that, again, the
That
physical,
adrenaline.
that emotional, that your heart palpitates and you're craving
Yeah.
that addiction, and it just turns into this illness, mentally illness, and you were not ready to let go again because of that thing that he make you feel. I mean, we're
Yeah.
going back to sex, and that was basically all it was.
Yeah.
Because he was not providing for you. He was taking.
Yeah,
He was not
taking.
adding.
Exactly.
Right?
He was not adding at all.
He didn't have did he have a house? Did he had an amazing car? Did he
Yep, he
had
didn't have
a good
anything.
job? Did he, nothing?
That's the thing. He didn't have
Nothing.
anything. Yeah. He was staying with me. He was sleeping on his dad's couch at home. So it was
He was
just a
using you
basic-
and
yeah,
abusing you
Exactly. Yeah.
for everything.
Yeah.
And he did just that.
Yes.
What a lesson to learn.
Yes.
a hard lesson to learn, but you learned that, right?
Yeah.
And I want to get into a little bit about the husband.
Yeah.
Because that husband, was your second husband,
Yeah,
correct?
exactly.
It seemed like, nobody is perfect. He
Yeah.
had his imperfections, right?
Yeah.
There's always situations in the marriage. That's what it is. There's
Yeah.
no perfect life or marriage. But comparing, he was a good man, right?
Yeah, he was a
Comparing
good
to this other parasite,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
your ex-husband now was a good man.
He's a good man.
And I know we didn't talk about it, but I do briefly want you to say, what are some of the things that now you are grateful for this husband that you had that before you didn't see?
For one, like knowing that, he had to witness, right, us getting divorced and me,
Yes.
falling
Yes.
with another man and being with another man. And I think, realizing that he was like, if I can't have her like as my wife, I want her to be, at least have her as a friend.
Yes.
And I want to do everything I can to make sure she's okay, that she's safe, that she's with a good man. He told me, I want you to be with a good man that has
That's true
a
love?
good heart.
Do you think that's true love?
That's true
Did he
love.
show you true love?
He showed me true love.
And look at what
despite all
happened,
of
Katya.
that.
When we
Yeah.
are not well in
Yeah.
our mind, in our spirit is hurt,
Yeah.
we don't see the good things,
Yeah.
right? We only emphasize the things that we don't like about our partner.
Yeah.
But if looking back, what you didn't like about him, and I'm gonna, people can go in and see our first show together. But you talk about him. He wanted to. Are you gonna do the dishes, or
Yeah.
can you clean up this,
Yeah.
or right? You did not like him to tell you how you needed to clean up your home.
Yep, how certain things needed
Right,
to be
but he was a
done, and-
provider. Am I correct? He
Yep,
was a provider.
he was a provider.
Was he a good son?
Oh, yes.
His mother.
His mother, yes.
And I always say, if you have a man that is good to his mother,
Yeah.
please treasure him,
Yes.
and stay there and grow together,
Yeah.
polish each other,
Yes.
help one another. Because if a man loves his mother, he will do whatever he can to be a good husband.
Yes.
We just need to help. So now, looking back, you realize that you appreciate now him.
Yes.
Right? Even though you guys are divorced now,
Yeah.
am I correct?
Yes.
But you guys are still now going back and living together?
Yes. We did
Trying
move
to
back
be
in and
friends,
try to-
starting a friendship?
Yep. Just
And do
trying to-
you think that someday perhaps you guys will get married again, or living as husband and wife?
It's a possibility. I feel like I've been through so much that I don't know, to be honest, if I want to ever get married again. I will say that's the honest truth. I feel like it's just been so much, but I do believe in opening my heart up and trying again and seeing like he was really good. And despite all of the things he
Yes.
had to witness me endure and the pain and the suffering that it caused him, from his side loving me still so much.
Katya,
I
I
feel
will
like
say,
it
I will just
opened my
give you,
eyes.
open your eyes.
Yeah.
I will say, you deserve and own it to yourself for what you have told us, what I know.
Yeah.
He's shown you in the darkest times and the worst times that he's been there for you.
Yeah.
And all I'm asking is for you to really think about that and
Yeah.
look at it.
Yes.
Because if you know into your core that he's never going to be perfect, but he is a good man,
Good man, has a good heart. Yeah.
you both can help
Yeah.
help each other.
Yeah.
So a lot of lessons, right, that we still have to learn.
Yes.
But I appreciate you being here with us. And we're not done. I think we're going to come back someday in a few months and do another show, okay,
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing your story.
Absolutely.
And it was an honor to be just with you and I having a conversation.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
And to all of you, my lovelies, thank you for being here today. Hope you found our stories inspirational. Wishing you all happiness, love, and a beautifully harmonious life. Until next time.